And everybody is muted. Welcome everybody to the Team Aim for Change call. This is Tuesday, August 7th. And today's topic of our call tonight is all about Instagram. And so many of us struggle with the use of Instagram. And I think it's because of the fear of the unknown, something new, and it's just scary, right? A lot of us have utilized Facebook for our primary source of customers and coaches, and this transition is just the name of the game. It's just moving forward with the business. We've all come into this business because we love to learn, we love to move forward, it kind of excites us, right? We like change, and for whatever reason, we all really, I'm just gonna mute this, hold on. So far it's okay. We fear this Instagram thing, and I think it's just because we're not educated fully yet. If we can refine how we're utilizing it, it'll be more successful. So a couple of days ago, I hopped into a free training. I said, you know what, if I'm going to get into this Instagram thing, it better be the right way. And I still have so much to learn and so much to tweak myself, so I'm not a champion at this, let me tell you. And one of the things that a lot of you actually probably have not gone through, I think Kelsey may have, and I know Chris has, obviously Denise, Joan maybe not have, but it's a branding course. And this idea of branding ourselves is how we become, you know, successful people in the social media world. And this idea of branding ourselves takes time and it takes some effort. So that's why I told all of you to make sure you had your pens and your paper. If you've got your cell phone close by, super handy, because we will use the Instagram app while we go through this. That way to make it a little bit more realistic and not me just chatting with you. I will be using screen share so you can see some of the things that we're going to go through. So is everybody good? Thumbs up, ready to rock and roll? Okay, I'm just making sure that I did. Okay, perfect. Hey, Courtney, I'm not sure who Pixel is. That's the name that I see, but I don't think that's your name. I'm just going to make sure that you're muted if you're hopping on right now, just so that we don't hear any background craziness. Thank you. All right, so first things first with any social media platform is that we find our ideal follower, okay? So who do we want to speak to? Who I speak to is different from who Kelsey speaks to, who Chris speaks to, and being able to define who we want to speak to is very important. And so that's where we're gonna really take notes. We're gonna open up a notebook, a clean slate, and I'm gonna pull up my screen and go through how we're going to utilize finding our ideal follower. So I'm going to share my screen. And let's see, my screen is always really messy, so I apologize, guys. Let's see. Oh, I thought I opened it. Where'd it go? Oh, here it is. Okay. So does everybody see my little workbook here where technically I could type in it, but you're going to write it on your paper? All right. Thinking of your target market. So that's anywhere in life. So I'm not going to target, I find, I'm not going to target an older crowd. You know, they're not going to look to me and want me to help them. Yes, some people do. That's fine. But in ideal world, my age group, so how old are they? How old is your ideal people that you can speak to? For me, mine's, I say 21 to about 35. That's my ideal. So write down what yours is. What gender are they? I don't do very well with speaking to the male population. I'm just being straight up honest. I am more towards females. Now, my girl Kelsey on here is awesome at finding, you know, both genders. Great, awesome. I am so not there. And so that's where you need to define who you want to speak to, because how you speak to people on Instagram or Facebook is going to be specific, kind of like gender neutral, if anything, if you're going to go to both, or you're going to talk more girl power, more girl topics or conversations. And then if it's a male, which we got Nick on here, you're going to talk more masculine things. You're not going to go that girly route, but you could. So next thing is, what are their hobbies or interests? So for me, I love to dance. Obviously, we all love to work out, right? Not so much. Everybody's going to have their own little niche. So maybe you love to do yoga. Maybe you like to go on walks with your dog. Maybe you love going to the beach. So you need to find what your hobbies and interests are, because that's what they're going to also be interested in. I don't like to read, so I'm not going to start talking to all these people that love reading, right? I'm not gonna have much in common with those types of people. All right, keep on trucking. Make sure you're doing all these things. I'm not going to be able to hunt you all. Where do they live? Is their location important to you in your business? For us, luckily, it's not. I do find that for me, it's easier for me to connect with people in this general area for coaches. As for customers, I find that they can be anywhere. Really, you're doing this all from a social platform. You've got your challenge tracker. But for coaching, for me, I like them to be closer by, so I can feel that connection. I can invite them to our Super Saturdays and our events or our Fit Club. But that might not mean anything to you. And I think that is for me probably a downfall, that I kind of gravitate towards that. But at the same token, I'm doing just fine without that. I don't have to be so general and so broad with my location, because I'm doing well right now with this area. What do they struggle with? And probably what they struggle with is what you struggled with. So do you struggle with organization? Do you struggle with cooking? I'm awful at cooking. But I pride myself in that. I do simple nutrition, what do you struggle with? Do you struggle with getting your vegetables in? Do you struggle at waking up in the morning? What about being on time? Things like that. What do they struggle with? What does your ideal follower struggle with? And that's really what you struggle with. How can you help them? We can help them obviously with our business. We have nutrition, exercise, and support in a community. That's pretty general terminology for all of us. And along the way, anybody, if you have questions, just make sure you're putting them in the chat so I answer them, and I'm not just going Speedy Gonzalez on you, because I'm going to fly through this. This is like 5 days of material crammed into a half hour. So how can you help them? And how you can help them really needs to be you. How can I can't physically be there for somebody every step of the way. I work too much in other areas. How can I help them? It can be related to amount of time that you can spend with them. It can be with amount of opportunities you can help them with. Again, I utilize my local fit club. Some of you might not have that, or maybe you need to start one. So how can you help them? And that can be unique to every customer. Let's see. What accounts within your niche do they follow? So I was just thinking this on the way home about Instagram and this fear of Instagram. And so many of us have such a great Facebook following. We all know that Facebook is totally, totally changing. And so is Instagram. Like, it's always going to consistently change. But Facebook, I have tons of friends on Facebook. And some of those people used to be people that I was able to comment with and message with, but maybe they haven't been seeing my content, or maybe they're actually transitioning as well to Instagram. So I find that a lot of those people are easier to contact on Instagram than Facebook like before. So that's why it's super important that we're utilizing both, if not, trying to gear our efforts towards Instagram, since that's really the popular place right now. What hashtags describe them? So again, we will get a little bit into detail about hashtags at the end. But for right now, hashtags can be just general terms. So I always gravitate towards lake living, nursing, dance, I'm a dog mom, right? So that's an adjective that describes you and only you. We'll talk again, like I said, in general terms about hashtags in a little bit, not yet too in depth. So, okay, with that idea, if we're all in this idea of this ideal follower, what can our Instagram account focus primarily on. And for us, all of us, I think we're all pretty much on the same page on our overarching main focus, and that is health and wellness. That's what we're here for. Whether we, so our general term, so our main focus, everybody has one main focus. And I would say that basically all of us are in this for this health and wellness terminology, but we all have subcategories, and everybody should have like 3 subcategories that they focus on. So for me, I'm not vegan, so I'm not going to focus my subcategory on vegan nutrition, right? My nutrition side of this, because that's one of my categories, would be simple nutrition, because again, like I said, I don't cook. Like I really don't cook. And I think for me, I have to focus more on that, and I have to remind myself that that's really what I want people to understand, that healthy eating can be simple. So that's a subcategory. So everybody in here should have 3 subcategories, and those categories should be broadcasted in your Instagram feed, in your stories, in your basic profile. So for all of you, start to brainstorm some of your subcategories that you want to show off in your platform. One thing that so everybody can see here, Carla is our lady who ran this free training. I'm just going to unshare that for a second. And she talked about how if we pick up a magazine, no matter what it is. So one that she talked about was Vogue, fashion. All right. Our minds go right to it, and we know that it's about fashion. But in there, they talk a lot about traveling. They talk about health. So those are the subcategories, but it all revolves around fashion. So for us, we need to find our main topic, and then our 3 subcategories that we focus on. So for example, for me, like I told you, this whole nutrition, health, exercise component is my main category, and my subdivisions, I would say, are that simple nutrition, simple workouts at home, which a lot of us, can focus on those as well. But one thing, and I don't know, Kelsey, if you agree with this, but I find Kelsey does a great job at like the mental health aspect of it. I think she's gone. Where'd she go? That's okay. She talks a lot about this idea of choosing to be happy and this mentality, portion of this. So that's her specific, niche or subdivision. So you're going to have your own little things that you focus on. Like I said, vegan nutrition, gluten-free, those are specific, and that can be for you. But you need to figure out what those subdivisions are for you. Is everybody good? Can I get a thumbs up if you're all good? Because I'm going to keep going. Great. Thank you. All right. So the first thing that is super important in any platform is building relationships. And that's really what our business is all about. And building relationships, again, the best relationships are going to be through this niche developmental group. And once we define that group, we'll be able to really speak to them. If we don't know what that group is, we're going to be in trouble. And sometimes we have this idea that we're going to scream from the rooftops that we want everybody to hear us, but then nobody hears us, right? And so we want to avoid that. We want to be specific. And even myself, I'm going to be honest, like, I need to fix this. Like, these are things that we all need to work on. And I think that once we understand it, and once we start, moving forward with this idea, we're going to do so much better on this, Instagram platform. So one tip that she gave about relationship building was this idea of featuring other Instagrams on your account. And so, for instance, I follow a couple like foodie people on Instagram that do great comparisons of food, do great recipes or tips. And sometimes I'll screenshot their picture and I'll put it in my story, but you've got to be sure that you give these people a shout out. And that way we are creating these relationships with these bigger social network people, and we're creating these connections where, if we're acknowledging, somebody on Instagram, eventually those people are going to catch on and they're going to follow us as well. Our stuff will begin to develop on their feed in their search engine. So what we need to be sure that we do if we do feature somebody else's photos or even videos is that, one, we make sure that they know that we are doing it so we can ask them permission. But as you know, be sure that you are notifying in the tag. So you're tagging them in the post as well as putting their what's their username in the comments to be sure they're getting notified that you're doing something like that. So another thing is engaging with your followers. So we're always talking about making sure you comment on things, you're liking other people's posts. And last night, Christy and Kelsey and I had a little call together and we talked about, you know, how are we going to do this? How are we really going to sit down and get our engagement done? And our idea was that, you know, being able to, you know, for instance, everybody, if you have your Instagram open, I'm going to just kind of pop on here so you can see it. At the bottom of, when you pull up Instagram, there's a little search. Oh, sorry, somebody's making funny noises here. Oh, all better. There's a little search circle on the bottom. You're going to click that. If you go in the top and start to search, you can do a word. So for me, if I were to type in dance, different dance things are going to come up. Hashtags are going to come up. People are going to come up. So I, you know, personally, I would go from the hashtags. If I click on dance as a hashtag, everybody can do the dance one. It's not a big deal. Like, you're not really going to follow people. You're going to get this whole feed of tons of people that are posting about dance and they're using this hashtag, right? So I can start to look at these people and go, she looks cool, or, oh, I like this video, and I can like it. But to take it to another level, I can, so for instance, last night, I looked up, like, maybe, I don't even remember what I was searching. It's kind of strange. Maybe it was beach or something. And I saw like all these cute bathing suits. I saw a mom with her like mommy and me bathing suits. And I commented on it and I said, oh my gosh, this, you know, this suit is super cute. Love it. You know, where did you get it? The key to commenting on anybody's stuff is making sure you leave a question. And the reason for that is because it prompts them to answer, right? So it's like getting points in the Instagram world for, you know, you're engaging. This is the idea of Instagram, is to engage, form relationships, build relationships. And the goal for that is so that if you start to engage with other people, they start to follow you. And when they're following you, it comes and turns into this ripple effect if we can get it to be that place. So we will talk about hashtags in a minute, but that was just kind of off topic because I was showing you the search engine. That is a way of finding people based off of your likes and your, you know, main focus, okay? All right, so one tip that she said was take 15 minutes, set a timer, and do just what I just showed you, engaging. Go into somebody's account under any of those subcategories or hashtags and just look at what they got. If it's not interesting to you, don't like their stuff. Like, you don't want to connect with people you don't like. You want to connect with people that you're like, oh, this girl's cool. Like, I'm totally good for this, you know? And you want to be sure that, again, you at least comment on one of their posts. And I would say one because you don't want to comment on multiple because that's really creepy. You can like a couple so your name pops up in their feed, right? We want to show our name. You want them to know your name on Instagram. I didn't ever ask this. Is everybody public on Instagram? Super important that you're all public on Instagram. And I know.
Oh, sorry. So I switch back and forth every once in a while. I had an incident where students were making fake accounts and following me. So if I post something and I put hashtags in it, I'll make it private for like a few hours and then go back.
Yeah, we talked about that. Christy and I last night, she was like, I don't know what to do. I'm kind of at a standstill.
It's so hard.
It is. And it is this difficult situation with professionalism and, of course, your workouts. and even it was that way for me, like with patients. I mean, I have
Yeah.
patients that, they find me on these things and they can watch me, right? Do you suggest having another account if you don't want to be public? That's ultimately up to you, but that can be really tough. That was Courtney's question. Is she asked if she should have like another account. If that's easier for you, but they can still find you. Like that's that's just extra work. It's just to be, honest with you, having a public account is going to make this business easier for you. If you go to somebody's account that you don't like, it's so hard. For instance, I search that dance thing and I look up somebody's account. I can't even see their picture. So how do I know if I want to follow them? Like all you have is that little bit of a bio that gives you 2 seconds to explain who you are and what you are. That's it in a private setting. So you're like I said, if you go to a store and you can't look in the windows, are you going to go into the store? Are you going to open up a magazine if the cover's blank or if there's a lock on it? Like, no, you're not. And you're not going to want to buy it. Never mind. What if you don't know what's in it? Right?
I think I'm going to try to be public and change my name. And if anyone looks weird, I'll just have to block them. Like if they look like a fake account, I'm just going to have to block them.
That's a good way to do it. And it's so true. I have a lot of the top coaches, they don't have their names as the handle. That's the word I was looking for, handle. The handle is like your username, like at whatever it is. Some people have, like, there was one girl, one of the top coaches, Fit Foodie or something. She's awesome. She doesn't have her name in it. And so, yes, they can look for you, but not completely. All right. I'm getting a warning here, so I'm going to kind of like panic for a second because I went a little bit off topic here. So we ourselves are our ideal client, right? So like I said already, where you were at when you started this gig is who you're looking for, right? So where were you a year ago? And for me, I was different a year ago than what I was 3 years ago. So I've got a couple of different levels of people that I kind of attract, which is nice. But every time we change and our lives change, we have more people to connect with. What questions did you have? Those are the things you need to address in your posts. What struggles did you have? That's what you need to address in your posts. How did you get where you are today to now, right? How did you get there? What were the steps that it took to get here? You've got to explain that, because if it's not clear, they're not going to follow you. If it's not what they need, they're not going to follow you. Okay. All right. So we talked about this magazine. Like our Instagram is a magazine, and we need to make sure that they love it right off the bat. Okay. So we want to share beautiful, beautiful content. And I mean beautiful. We don't want like raw, rough looking pictures. We want them to be clear. We want them to be crisp. We want them to pop, and we want them all to make sense. And what I mean by that is my Instagram honestly does not make sense. And I mean that because there's the only consistent factor that I have on Instagram, and some of you may follow me, is that I have a pattern. If any of you look at my page, every other post is a white quote. That's the only thing I have. The other piece that I could take into point is that all of my pictures could have a specific filter. And so I have two people. The first one, hold on, let me just see what her name was. She's actually a Patriots cheerleader, so she's pretty cool. For some reason, I couldn't find any of our coaches that did this already. Let me see, hold on. Her name is Nicole, Nicole Manelas. If you see her page, every single photo she has in there has a very specific filter. So we all know how to use filters. We all know that the Instagram app has its own filters, but there's other apps that have filters, right? And so we want to keep this idea of our Instagram as, like I said, a magazine. So the photos should look similar, and the photos should have a nice pop. One thing that she utilized was a nice like pink tone. So she always incorporated a pink tone. Another thing that you can do is add borders. If you have borders in there, that can also make these photos pop. So some apps that I can use, I'm going to post below so I don't waste any more time, since the time is like ticking down. And any questions at the end that you may have, please put in the comments. I'll sit on here for a couple more minutes too to answer any of them. I'm going to post all of the apps that we can utilize, as well as I wanted to just chat quickly with you about hashtags. So a couple of things have changed with hashtags. We've talked a lot before about hashtags being the connector, right? It connects us to the people that use the hashtags as well. The downside to that, yes, Selah, I can put it in the comments, is the idea was that we would use a grouping of hashtags and we would use them all the time. But now we're getting flagged for using the same hashtags all the time. So I used to have like a grouping of nursing ones. And then I would use like a group of, actually I'd probably use the nursing ones all the time because I'm always a nurse, right? But the idea is that we should be switching this group out all the time. So people are like, what the heck is a group of hashtags? Displaypurposes.com. Displaypurposes.com is a website. I think there's another one called like allthehashtags.com, and you can type in a topic. So I could type in dance and it would give me a long list of hashtags to use. I copy and paste those. I put them in my notes on my phone. So all I have to do is copy and paste those to my Instagram when we do them, right? Now, there was talk also, do you put the hashtags in the direct description of your photo, or do you put them in the comments? I've been told, Christy, back me up, that if you put them in the comments, you're also getting flagged, right? Instagram is changing. So we have to make sure that we are changing, we're learning, and we're utilizing these features. So put them in your direct message at the end. You can put a couple of dots if you've seen that before so that they're not like screaming at the end of your post. The other thing about hashtags is when you search a hashtag, you're gonna see, so for instance, I typed in dance, like I talked about, you're gonna see how many people post about that hashtag. And we wanna make sure, so for instance, dance has 65 million plus people that have posted about dance, that hashtag dance. They put a post with that hashtag. We want these hashtags to be less than 100,000 posts. The reason for that is so that our pictures and our posts don't get lost. So yes, we're doing this kind of work, but people that are interested in this stuff are also searching for this kind of stuff. So somebody who wants to lose weight, they're going to put in a hashtag that says weight loss, okay? And they're going to look through those people's things to look for answers. They are looking for answers when they are looking for these hashtags. If they put in clean nutrition, whatever it is, whatever the hashtag is, they're looking for it because they're curious about it. And like I said, they want answers, and we are the guide for the answers, right? So let me just finish this up real quick. Along with this idea of, I said filters, so the colors and the scheme of your profile in your page, even font is important. Keep your font consistent. So that could be in your stories, that can be in your pictures on your Instagram, but we want to use the same font so that people recognize who we are and what we're posting. You know, if they see a specific font, honestly, my stories are like all over the place. It's like word vomit. It's craziness, and I need to clean up my act, and I think that we all kind of do. And if we're just starting, it's such a perfect time to start the right way, and we should start clean. So make sure you're using consistent, you know, fonts in backgrounds and color schemes. That way, you know, people recognize you as who you are. So a lot of us did a personality test, and I can also post that in there. Let me put this down on my things to do because I've got plenty to do in 2 minutes. A personality test identifies what colors resonate with us. So we can use those colors to brighten up our feed or our stories And that way you can really make your magazine you, right? I might love the sea blue or the greens, right? And somebody else might like hot pink and purple, right? Whatever it is, it's you, and it defines who you are. And you want to make sure that it goes with how you're speaking, who you are, and what you're trying to get across. So I think I covered everything. I'm sorry that I had to go a little bit fast at the end. And we're not really going to have much time for questions here. But again, like I said, please post questions in the post that I'm going to post this video in the team page. Utilize the comments below it to be sure that I answer anything. Like I said, I'll stay on here for about 20 minutes. And I'll get them all answered for you. I'll post the apps that I'm using and some more that I learned about this week. I'll post the personality test, and I'll also post a couple of different Instagram handles that I think are really important for us to look at and see, because I think you'll be able to see what I mean when I'm talking about all these special things that like are going to make our Instagram world look beautiful. Right? I hope everybody had a good time tonight. I'm sorry that I was like the talky McGee. And I hope that you all took something from this. And can I get a nice thumbs up? I'm going to actually take a quick picture. Hold on. Quick. Quick photo. 1, 2, 3, smile. Awesome, guys. Thank you so, so much. And I'll post this up like within 5 minutes real quick on the Team Aim for Change. And again, like I said, comment questions. Please, please, please ask me questions. And you can direct message me if that's easier.